Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Shad and the Resman. I am your host, Black Chef 56.
And I am the Resman.
Yes, sir. Now, as of this recording, which was the 4th of April of 2025, we just got out of a Minecraft movie. The latest film with Jack Black, Jason Momoa, Jennifer Coolidge.
And
It's really about the only names that I remember other than Matt Berry, but he's at the very,
yeah,
very end.
Matt Berry was the cherry on top for the
Yeah,
movie. Basically, he
yeah,
didn't come
yeah.
in until the very last scene.
Yeah, the
So
very, very last scene. I would
yeah,
argue not until the mid credits scene. But it's just a voice cameo. And even then it's still funny. I would agree to that. So well, of course we're gonna not go straight into spoilers. I guess that was technically a spoiler. Ah.
it
But
isn't a
we're not gonna
spoiler. You can
yeah.
just look up the cast
Yeah, exactly.
yourselves. So
So from that aspect, we're not really going to talk about spoilers up until we give you the warning, and then from there, it basically is just going to be, of course, our like. It's not going to be a play-by-play. Obviously, we're just going to talk about like certain scenes, what worked, what didn't work for us. So right now, we're just going to go straight into the casting. I don't hate this casting. Jack Black is surprisingly okay as Steve. I would argue him and Jason Momoa carry this movie. You know,
yeah,
I feel like they're the better characters out of this. Just from that, I would argue also the designs are very, very well done. The CG is actually surprisingly okay. Yes, the green screen is a little glaring. I won't disagree with that, but eventually you just kind of lull yourself into eventually just buying it.
yeah.
Not to say that
They,
it's that bad. It's just it's obvious, but it's not like you're gonna see a green key around the person. No, I mean it's just obvious that it's green screen, but there are some actual sets, so I will argue
yeah,
that as well.
they did a pretty
Um,
good job with the sets and that stuff. And the sets are
yeah,
not CGI. A
the
lot of it.
majority of them are. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
when they enter the world for the first time and you see that there's grass and then all that stuff, it's
oh
like
yeah, yeah,
that part is real. There is
yeah,
CGI in it, but that part is
yeah,
real, surprisingly, and I think they did a really great job with the set as well.
yeah. There is
So
some
it was
practical sets in
nice.
this that look really, really good. The actual items that they use were mostly all practical. I thought those were really cool. There was one item in there that I'm surprised hasn't been in Minecraft yet. The tater launcher, or you could just literally call it potato launcher. I'm surprised that's not been in the Minecraft games yet,
I'm sure
or
it's
at
going to
least I
be
don't think it
integrated.
is. Oh,
I
I'm
think there's
sure.
going to be a mod that comes
Yeah,
out that's going to be like, okay, but
yeah. Same thing
I
with the Iron Golem.
yeah,
There's a thing that they do with an Iron Golem in a different item, and I don't know if that's a thing in Minecraft. Of course,
I
we'll
don't
talk a
think it
little bit
is.
about
Yeah,
that later on in spoilers, but yeah, I don't think it's a
yeah,
huge problem. A lot of the practical sets and set pieces they were done incredibly well. I would argue this movie's biggest flaw is the writing, and
yeah,
it goes at a breakneck speed too, which is
yeah.
nice. Don't get me wrong; I'm very glad about that. Like, unlike this other director's work, or this director's other work, Napoleon Dynamite, I would argue, is not a breakneck speed movie. That is a very slow, methodical, dry humor comedy. Nacho Libre a little bit more so, but at least you have Jack Black's like personality to kind of carry that movie. Um, Jared Hess is the director's name, and I would say I like Nacho Libre a lot more than I like Napoleon Dynamite. Granted, I gotta give Napoleon Dynamite another chance. I don't know, maybe I wasn't in the right headspace for it, but yeah, I would argue Nacho Libre is definitely the this director's better work, and that's including with this movie underneath his belt as well. It's great to see him back with Jack Black. Don't get me wrong, that was great. Um, Overall, I mean, if I were to give it a rating out of 10, I think honestly I'd probably give it a 4.5 out of 10. I say there's enough in there that I'm very glad I saw it. Will I ever watch it again? Well, I'm probably gonna have to. I'm gonna go take my nephew to it at some point. But will I ever watch it again on my own? Probably not. I maybe would get this movie if I have a younger kid that wants to get into Minecraft. Um,
It'd be. I
yeah,
feel like it'd be more of like a collection movie. You just have it for
yeah,
the collection. And
exactly.
when I watched it, seeing Jack Black and Jason Momoa, I got the Thor Love and Thunder vibes, like very Thor Love
The
and Thunders. Now it isn't like it
that
didn't
bad.
dis
Yeah.
it isn't that bad. Like it's not like, oh my goodness, like it really disappointed. It was exactly, I think it was just a smidge better than what was expected, but it's
Yes.
just it's just that different personalities reminded me of the Thor Love and Thunder. Like it's the classic like Jim Bro kind of thing, and then this other
Yeah.
guy, and they're kind of like going out into the world, and you've got your friend sort of.
the
It's like,
the
what's up,
the
bro?
frenemies, the frenemy thing. Yeah, they like
Yeah,
slow. They start off butting heads, and then they slowly realize that they're a lot more similar than they are different. I would argue if someone were to call this a paint by numbers movie, I would argue that that is actually a pretty good, accurate interpretation of what the writing of this movie is. It is your generic go from the real world into this world. Thank God there's not a whole lot of like the Minecraft like I think there's only really like two creatures that go into the real world if I'm not mistaken. And
yeah,
then that's really about it. That's like the only integration of these Minecraft characters in like real live action world versus these real life people in this Minecraft world. Um, yeah, I mean, I would definitely say it's recognizable with Minecraft, but it does have its own unique spin on how to do these. Of course, with Minecraft being a mostly 3D computer game, you can't really have all those realistic textures. I mean, you can with shaders, but I would argue, yeah, that there's some good design choices in this movie. I remember that was a big controversy when they started releasing still images of these creatures, and
it didn't go over
uh,
very well.
no, it
Uh,
didn't. I would argue everything looks fine. It's recognizable enough to where I can, even if I didn't know it was a Minecraft movie, I would, if I saw bits and pieces of it, I'd be like, oh, this is a Minecraft movie. Okay, cool. Would I like to see a more serious Minecraft movie or something similar to, say, the Dungeons and Dragons movie that we got I believe it was a couple years ago?
yeah,
Yes, I think that would have been a far better interpretation. You could still have it be this kind of comedic adventure, but I would say go along the lines of like what the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves movie did.
yeah.
Which, by the way, if you're a huge D&D fan and you haven't seen that movie, watch that movie. That's actually a really, really good movie. I'm very sad that it did not do well.
I
Um,
I haven't. I mean, I haven't really played Dungeons and Dragons all that much. I've probably played it like once or twice, and
yeah.
variations of it. Like I played the cyberpunk version of D&D, and I
Yes.
and and I watched that movie, and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. I had the Avengers like, imagine the comedy in Avengers. That's basically what you have, like the style of comedy integrated into that.
It's
But
it's not Marvel humor. Let me clarify that because that's a big thing now. It's like, oh, he's right behind me, isn't he? It's not that kind of humor, but it is very tongue in cheek. It's very
yeah,
self aware humor, but it's never to the point where it's like Deadpool type self aware humor where it's breaking the fourth wall. It does
right,
stay within its own realm, um, and I would argue that that movie did enough to where even people who don't are not like actively into the D&D world or who are not like actively know the lore, I would argue that movie did a really good job just being a movie that happened to be in the Dungeons and Dragons universe. And it makes sense for the comedy element of it because for those of you that have played Dungeons and Dragons, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say this. But the whole point of Dungeons and Dragons is you're with friends. You're gonna do shit that you can't do in real world. You're gonna talk shit. You're gonna have all these like banter moments, and that comedy element works incredibly well in Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. But back onto
yeah,
Minecraft, I mean, I was laughing a couple of times. There was points where I was like, okay, that actually legitimately made me chuckle.
yeah.
But a lot of the times I was laughing more just because it's like
It
I
was
must
stupid.
laugh. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
stupid, but
it's just
it's
so
literally I must
stupid.
laugh because the only other alternative is to cry. So it's not that bad. I'm just being over the top, but yeah, it is very generic. Obviously, I would argue again, Jason Momoa and Jack Black really do carry this movie on their shoulders. This the Momoa type character is basically I think it's him still trying to like get the kinks out of how he's going to portray Lobo, which is I think he's most likely just gonna be Jason Momoa, which is fine. I'm cool with that. Like Jack Black is comfortable playing Jack Black. I'm cool with him playing Jason Momoa playing Jason Momoa. So I do like that element of it, and I'm very excited to see Jason Momoa as Lobo and Supergirl. Hope to God Superman does well. Also, for those of you that are going to go see this in theaters, there is a 5-minute preview. Yes, it is online, I know, but there is a 5-minute preview with a little trailer attached to it for Superman coming out this July.
Yeah.
You missed like the beginning of it, Dalton, but you saw the majority. I think you missed like a minute, and then
Right.
you saw the rest.
I feel like I got the essence of what the
Yeah,
next Superman got. So even if you do miss a couple minutes, you'll get
the Superman
kind of
trailer,
the
yeah,
vibe.
beforehand. Of course,
Yeah.
for those of my people that do tend to skip trailers, which I've been tempted to a lot of the times, it's just I don't want to. It's hard to kind of navigate. They give you 20 minutes, but I've shown up 20 minutes late before. They were still showing trailers, and I've shown up 15 minutes late, and the movie started. So it's very hard to kind of like navigate about when you want to whenever you want to walk in if you don't want to see trailers. Uh, but yeah, that's a slight nitpick.
Right. You want to go into spoilers?
What would your rating be
Yeah.
out of 10 before we get into spoilers?
Um. Well, I've seen some pretty bad movies, and honestly, I can stomach some very very bad movies, and I know you can too, Christian.
Oh, I've
Um.
seen my fair share. There's some that
But
I even enjoy.
not all bad movies are movies that you can't watch it. There's some bad movies that are like, yeah, I can watch that again.
Yeah. It's a
And
good
so
background movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I mean, it's kind of tough because you know the plot isn't really there, but that's not what the movie's about. The movie isn't a plot driven movie. It's a very idea driven. Like it's Minecraft. Like what do you expect? So I mean, that I'll probably give it like 4.5, 5.
Four and a
I'd
half,
give
five.
it that. Yeah,
So about
I
the
would
same
give it
rating I
that.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, like going back to the Love and Thunder, I think Love and Thunder was worse. At least the expectation was there, but it
Coming off of
disappointed. So
Ragnarok, I agree with you on that. Thor Love and Thunder was definitely a massive disappointment. Though there was some stuff in Thor Love and Thunder that I did enjoy. I would argue I enjoyed far more in a Minecraft movie versus Thor Love and Thunder.
yeah,
I could maybe count one or two things in Thor Love and Thunder that I really definitely enjoyed. Two or three actually. I'll give it that. Whereas this one, I would say there's definitely like 5 or 6 things that I really do enjoy from this movie. Hell, I could argue an argument could be made for 10. Maybe there's about 10 things that I really enjoyed in this movie. But
yeah,
granted, that's personal preference. So I guarantee you. And I mean, when we watched it, our audience was laughing. So there are moments that are actually pretty funny. It's just some of it is very, like I think you even said you read an article. I came for the memes. I stayed for Jack Black, I believe is what it was.
it was Jennifer Coolidge.
Jennifer Coolidge,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So it's I came for the memes. I
Yeah,
stayed for Jennifer Coolidge, which I'm kind of glad that she's kind of making a small comeback. She always works great in small doses, and I think she is self aware at this point that she's more or less a meme. Funny enough, this movie was actually supposed to have Steve Carell in it originally.
it
They
would
were
have
gonna
been
do,
nice. That would
yeah,
have been
Steve
nice to
Carell
have
would have been
Steve Carell.
interesting. Yeah, I do kind of sorely miss a lot of Steve Carell comedy. Though granted, he mostly does dramas now, which is fine. He's a good dramatic actor. I'll give him that. I mean, yeah, we can go into spoilers if you want. What's
Yeah,
the first thing you want to spoil?
honestly, I mean, going to the Steve Carell thing, I think if it was between Jack Black or Steve Carell, I think Jack Black did a great job. Like just that the tone of the movie was really
Mhm.
well done by Jack Black, but I think Steve Carell would have been a really good substitute. I feel like most people who have a problem with the casting choice of Jack Black playing Steve, I think they
Mhm.
would have had maybe a better time with Steve Carell, just because I feel like I don't know. When I think of Steve Carell, I do think of like Steve, like the Office. You have Steve. I don't know. That's my thing. But speaking of spoilers,
Mhm.
I one of the things that I mean, it's a Minecraft movie. I feel like there isn't really much we'd be spoiling when you think about it,
Well, I
because
mean, like
the
some story
whole the
beats, some like cameos,
yeah,
or some like some stuff that's surprising.
yeah.
Uh, you know,
I mean,
the
on
Technoblade tribute was really really well done. I would argue
yeah,
that it was short, brief, to the point. It did kind of warm my heart a little bit because that's what that pig with the crown was. That was a reference to Technoblade, who did unfortunately pass. I forget what year, but I remember he was a huge prominent Minecraft YouTuber and he did pass.
yeah.
So
I
that was
didn't
a nice reference. I would
I
argue that.
didn't I didn't catch that reference. I mean I didn't watch. I don't watch Minecraft
I just knew who
that much,
Technoblade
but
was,
yeah,
and that way, like his skin was always a pig with a crown, like he had like a royal pig or whatever. That was always his Minecraft skin. So that pig that was walking around with the crown, and it's like, who's that? Is he famous? Is like, no, he's a legend. I was like, okay, that was very sweet. That was a well done. That was a well done reference to the Minecraft element of it. Uh, Same thing with the lava chicken. I thought that was funny.
the,
Uh,
the song that came after that was funny,
I was that was
and
weird. Yeah.
the song at the very end was even more hilarious. Just the way
Yeah,
that
the I
they
feel
ended it.
alive. That
Yeah,
was, yeah. I didn't know how I felt about that one. The jackets made me fucking chuckle though. That was hilarious. Uh um I feel like they could have explored more. It would have been nice to have seen the end. That would have been kind of cool, and I thought that's what we were going to get that's what I thought we were going to get whenever. Oh, what the hell's that main kid's name? Henry?
yeah,
Hank? Yeah. Whenever he
Henry.
is facing down an Enderman, I was like, oh, okay, maybe we are gonna get to see the end. Like they're gonna have to go travel back to go find him, something along those lines. But
Right.
then I realized, like, to make an end portal, you have to have like eyes of whatever and ender pearls, and it's just it's. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, technically it would have taken them so long to get it, but granted, I mean they managed to get a shitload of diamonds and other stuff in a montage, so it's not that they couldn't have done that. Um,
They had a lot of diamonds, by the way,
they
and
that was a
I
lot
feel
of
like
diamonds.
I feel like with the whole piglins or whatever.
The piglins, yeah, that
Yeah,
was a
I feel
weird
like
choice to make those the villains.
yeah, I thought it was a little weird, but
Because piglins are mostly peaceful unless you hit them, and all they want is gold. That's it.
yeah,
So the
but
fact that they made them the villains was a little odd.
if they did decide to do a Minecraft movie where it focused more on the end, so like I don't know if you've heard of the story Beowulf. Have you heard of
Yes,
that?
I know
I
what
feel like
Beowulf is.
I feel like that would be more, and I don't feel like this would be the right tone. Like the way that this movie was would be the right tone for the Ender Dragon. You know, that being the dragon, and I feel like that there
Yeah, I
you'd
would
have to take
argue
it more
that.
seriously because
Yeah.
when people play Minecraft, you know, and they try to beat the Ender Dragon, it isn't like, oh, we're having fun. It's like
No,
it's an
this is
accomplishment.
very serious. This
Yeah,
is like this is a big deal. Yeah, I agree with that.
and so I feel like the tone of the movie, and then I feel like also the graphics and the way that it is would
It
have
would
to
have been
be
cool to see an Ender
drastically different.
Dragon. I,
Yeah,
I, I agree. It was cool to see an Enderman. It would have been awesome to see an Ender Dragon. I feel like that would have been well done. You could have explored more of the sea. That would have been interesting. You could have done sand ruins. I mean, there's so many different biomes you can do. And the fact that this is called a Minecraft movie means that, I mean, realistically, somebody else could come along and make another Minecraft movie, like do a completely different story and make
yeah,
it more, I would argue, serious, more like a lighthearted adventure, similar to, like, I would argue, The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, or Romancing the Stone. You could do that kind of, like, it's laid back comedy, or it's like physical comedy, but it's mostly takes itself seriously. Though I would
right,
argue the Brendan Fraser Mummy does not take itself seriously, and that's part of the reason why it's so much fun. Um,
yeah,
so with that, I think that there are different ways you could do this now. Um, I think honestly they could have gone with like a 3D animated movie similar to the Super Mario Brothers movie. I feel like that kind of, you could have done this animation style with that, and it would have. I think it would have worked out just fine. I mean, you could do that kind of photorealistic CG animation, or hell, if you really wanted to. Which, granted, I know this would have made it a little bit harder, but you could have done the whole, like, whenever they get into the Minecraft world, they're not human. They look they look Minecraft-esque. And then same thing whenever you take a Minecraft character and get it out of the real world, because like there's points at the beginning of the movie that make no sense. Like Steve's dog Dennis goes out into the real world, he still looks like a Minecraft wolf, and it's
Yeah.
interesting. I'm like, so nobody's gonna point out the fact that that wolf looks really fucking weird, like looks
Yeah.
really boxy.
I mean,
Especially because you have that point where it's like Jennifer Coolidge is like, "Oh my gosh, your head's
yeah.
really huge," and she doesn't question anything else about the villager.
Right.
I'm just like, "Oh,
I mean,
okay."
but at the same time, the kind of the character. I mean, I agree. Like, it's like, okay, like, but at the same time, I
Mhm.
like that she did point that out, but also it kind of highlighted how lonely she was. Kind
I
of like,
agree.
it was like she looked past that. Which made it comedic in a way. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is ridiculous. Which made it funny. It's like,
Oh
bro,
yeah. I
how
mean,
does no one know? How does no one else point this out? And it just,
agreed.
I think
Yeah.
it made it more funny. That it
Yeah,
made
yeah. For the
it
sake
kind
of
of
comedy,
embellished it.
you gotta throw out some logic out the window. I understood that.
Yeah,
And funny enough, speaking of the piglins, again, an odd choice to make the piglins. For those of you that have played Minecraft, it's an odd choice to make the piglins against creativity, against wanted to take over the overworld. I'm like, that's not the purpose of the piglins. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're a very striking character, and I guess the only other like antagonist you could theoretically do aside from what the hell are those gray villagers called? The Raiders, I believe is what they're
yeah,
called. You could have done the Raiders. That I could argue that one would have been okay, because all they really do is they take over towers, or we do have the the woodland mansion, which was really cool to find. The chicken jockey was stupid. I
yeah.
didn't like it. It was. I mean, don't get me wrong. There were some points that made me laugh, but it's like
It was just weird,
it's
you
just
know.
weird. And I mean, I get that's a game. That's a thing in the Minecraft world. I really do. Like there was a the golden apple, which I thought was really really cool. There was a totem of undying. Like there's like There's like little tidbits that you can really, if you're looking for it, you can notice it. Like they focus on it relatively easily. So like there are really cool, like, oh cool, like point at the camera moments, or point at the screen moments. It's like the Leo meme, the that one.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, like there are moments where you're supposed to do that. Obviously, this is meant to be that kind of like fan servicey movie. And I would argue that it ultimately does kind of push that more than a regular story. Um, I can understand why nobody would like. I can understand why somebody would not like this, but I can also understand why somebody would enjoy it. I had an enjoyable time. However, I've seen far better comedies. I've seen far better video game adaptations. I would argue, as far as the movie sphere, Sonic is one of the better video game adaptations after the first movie. So the second Sonic and the third Sonic are really, really good. I would argue in the realm of TV that Last of Us is really good. I had a far better time with Fallout, because it mostly follows its own original story, which I thought was really well done. Can't wait for season 2, by the way. No plug, but that does sound really. And same thing with Last of Us. I think Last of Us season 2 is finally coming out this month, if I'm not mistaken.
all
So,
right.
or at least it's going to start coming out. I don't know. I haven't really been keeping a major eye on it. But point being, so when it comes to a Minecraft movie, I mean, we already gave it our rating. Uh, the I Am Steve is a lot less zesty in the movie than it is in the trailer.
Yeah,
Uh, how he gets into the mines did make me laugh, as an adult. I was like, all right, that's kind of
yeah.
funny. Is
He
he just
just
fucking sidesteps him and goes in there anyways.
he does a whole Ray Lewis on him.
Exactly. Yeah, I was
He
like, all
just
right, that
well,
was kind of funny.
it was yeah. I
Yeah.
think honestly, if Minecraft were to be a if they were to go all out on Minecraft, I think it would work really well as a show than it would as an actual movie because there's so much to explore and so much to do in
Yeah.
Minecraft. It's really it. I mean, that's it.
Mm.
But one of the things I found funny was that man, I have to look it up, but it was that first piglet that that spoke to the queen or the
Oh,
queen gave.
Chungus.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Chungus,
General
and then
Chungus. Yeah.
and just and then just the way that
He
the
spoke. It
personality
was
of yeah,
hilarious.
it was like
Yeah.
he was innocent, and like Steve was like Steve's. I think Steve said he comes across as very kind, but he's a killer. It was just funny
Yeah.
the way
It
that
was funny.
it came across. I'm like, this guy's just so innocent, so
And what's
kind,
funny
and
is
he just wants to
I
kill
have to
everything.
look up who's playing him because that voice sounded so familiar, and I just gotta look it up. Hold on. So I'm looking it up right now as we speak. General Chungus is, let's see. Oh my god, it was Jared Hess himself. The director, Jared Hess. It was him playing General Chungus. That's hilarious. I love that. It was a director cameo. That's who he was. I I thought it was like I thought it was somebody else, but it was Jared Hess that was voicing General Chungus. And that kind of gives you an idea of the vibe of the movie. It's very meme heavy. It's like we're wanting to become a meme. That's what we're wanting to do. And I think they are succeeding in that aspect, especially because the way that you have everybody receiving Jack Black saying things, the flint and steel. I was like, all right, let's get through this. Every time it's like, that is an ender pearl. It's just the way that the way he describes things in this movie. I'm like, it's you kind of fall in love with it, but like just this. I laugh because the only other alternative is to cry. Yeah. It sounds like I hate this movie. I really didn't. I think it's run of the mill. It is exactly what I expected it to be. Like there was no surprises. Okay, there was a couple of surprises from like I didn't expect to see that, but there's like I even before this movie came out, like when everybody was dogging on it on the trailer, like the trailers, I'm like, okay, it doesn't look god awful, but I think the only thing it has going for it is going to be the most aggressively okay movie I will ever see this year so
Right.
far, and I was not wrong. You want a better family friendly movie to go see? I don't care if your kids want to see Minecraft. That's fine. They can play Minecraft. They can wait till it comes out on digital or till it comes out on disc. Go take them and support the movie A Looney Tunes adventure called The Day the Earth Blew Up. That movie is really funny. It is genuinely good. It's 2D animated, and also thank you Ketchup Entertainment for saving Coyote versus Acme. Thank you. Holy shit, I was so excited for that movie, and then when Warner Brothers announced, "Oh yeah, we're gonna shut it up. We're gonna shut it down. It's completed, but we're not gonna release it for tax purposes." And it's like, fuck you, Warner Brothers. And the fact that Looney Tunes is no longer on HBO Max, I'm like, yo, dude, what, do you guys just hate the fucking Looney Tunes? Is that what this is? You know, um, Go support The Day the Earth Blew Up. I would argue support this movie maybe whenever it comes on streaming or whenever it comes on digital or disc. But I mean, if your kids are just nonstop saying, "I want to go see Minecraft. I want to go see Minecraft. I want to go see Minecraft," well, there is a magical thing called your hand. You can smack across the head. No, I'm kidding. We don't condone child violence. No, I'm kidding. If
We do
you
condone
want,
child labor, though. Just
would I
saying.
condone child labor? That is an excellent question.
I said yes, we do. That's
No,
there is
no,
no
no,
question. Yeah, we
no.
do.
I don't
Sorry.
support child labor unless it's like mowing lawns
Sorry. I
or
sent my 7-year-old brother down to the child lines. So it's already been done. Christian has done it. It's over. It's
sure,
done. That's basically
sure.
Minecraft. It's child labor. So you think that you're saving your children? You're not. Get them Minecraft. Teach
Oh,
them teach them child labor. That's
uh,
basically what it is.
for all intents and purposes, Dalton is 100% being sarcastic. He's causing me to get a migraine and a fucking aneurysm. So, with that,
Yeah.
uh,
Who is the black actress?
oh, I've seen her in things. She was in Peacemaker recently. Her main claim to fame was Orange is the New Black. Her name is Danielle Brooks.
Danielle Brooks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
her main claim to fame was, I believe, Orange is the New Black. I believe she's in that show.
And then who was
I
the
may actually
female?
be wrong.
Who were okay? There was the other female character in the movie. Um,
Yeah, the sister Emma
yeah,
Myers.
yeah.
I don't know where I know her from. Oh, she was in Wednesday, the
Ye-
show Wednesdays. She's actually showing up in Secret Wars. I don't know who she's playing.
yeah.
Um, so okay,
There,
cool.
there is a part when there was a part during the fight between the piglets, and then you had the if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm so sorry. Piglets,
Piglins.
uh, piglins. I
Mhm.
apologize.
You're good.
Please, no one kill me. Anyways, I
He
know.
hasn't played Minecraft in forever. Let's be
Yeah,
perfectly
I
honest.
haven't honestly. Uh, the battle between the piglins and then the five main characters when they invade the village. They had the two women. One of them, the sister, had the shovel, and then the
No,
black lady had
Priscilla. She had the shovel. The black lady, and the sister had a
the
hoe, if I remember
the,
correctly.
the sister had a hoe, right?
Yes, and then they swapped weapons whenever we caught up with them at night.
Okay. I
Yeah.
thought that was interesting. I thought there was some deeper meaning behind that. Like, oh, you have a hoe, you must be a hoe. Like, is there something to
I don't.
this? Why
No,
is it?
no.
Why
I
is it
think it's
that the
just
woman
that.
had the shovels and the hoe? I
I think it was just to
don't know.
show that like the villagers in Minecraft don't really make weapons. I mean, they will. They have blacksmiths and stuff, but they don't
Yeah,
use them. They're peaceful. They're vegetarians on top of that, which I thought that was an interesting take on it. Now that I think about it, it does make sense that the villagers are vegetarians. That makes perfect sense
yeah, and
because they're always growing crops.
yeah, that it does. And so then, but I thought it was
There is
funny
no
that what,
deeper symbolism. I
yeah,
promise you. Those were gardening tools. That's why they have them.
yeah. I mean, they make it a meme nowadays that you don't give diamond a hoe. Anyways,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
don't
yeah.
make whatever. But anyways, I thought it was funny that once they came through the portal from the real world to the Minecraft world,
Hmm.
that the black lady just straight up came out with her ass, showing, and then
Well, it's
hit
because
the
she got
dude.
sucked in. Maybe she was trying to run away, and then she literally lands ass first into Jason Momoa's face. Like she comes
That was kind of
flying
funny
out.
though. That
That
was
was
funny.
funny. Yeah, I don't think there was any deeper symbolism to it. I think it was just
No,
funny,
it
and that's
wasn't.
why she's like,
I was
"Oh,
just
my butt," that.
I was just pointing that out.
Yeah.
So
I'm not gonna lie.
you,
I think we're just too. I think we're just not in the age demographic that was meant for this movie,
no,
and
it's meant
that's
for
fine.
children. I mean that the game
Yeah.
is meant for the a younger generation. That goes with a lot of these I cartoonish animated video games.
Mhm.
Like with Sonic the Hedgehog, it's clearly made. I mean, I think Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario, they're kids
They have
games.
their
They're
value to
animated.
adults.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
do, but
You want a
they're
better
also
Jack Black animated? You want a better Jack Black movie that is video game related? Go watch Super Mario Brothers. I'm just gonna be perfectly honest. That movie has some good
it was a
parts
good
to it.
movie. Yeah,
I
and
thoroughly enjoyed that movie.
and the plot was a lot better. And I think at
Yeah.
the same time, Mario and I don't know about Hedgehog, but Mario and Hedgehog, it's much easier to create a
Sonic,
plot. Yes, Sonic. Oh my goodness, I'm so terrible.
you're good.
They're much easier to create a plot around them because there's already a plot to the games. Whereas in
More or
Minecraft,
less, it's a loose plot. I mean,
yeah,
the first Sonic movie, I would argue, everybody loved it. The only reason why it even holds up in the slightest is because of Jim Carrey. That's really it. And of course the fact that they did they did change the Sonic design. Thank God. But
yeah,
I don't know if I'm gonna go back and watch any of the Sonic movies, and I do mean any of them. It's gonna be the second and the third one. I mean like the third one. Holy shit, was that a good movie? Like it genuinely. The second one I thought I thought it was loads better. You focus less on the humans, and even by the third one, I mean they focus even less. The only human characters you're really getting through the majority of the movie is Agent Stone, and this is Sonic 3, by the way. Agent Stone, Ivo Robotnik, which is the young Jim Carrey, and then what was his name? The elder Robotnik. I forget his name. Anyways, point being, Gerald. Sorry, Gerald Robotnik. So Gerald Robotnik, who is also voiced or also played by Jim Carrey, those are like, granted, you get two Jim Carreys, so you have two Jim Carreys just going over the top. That's like the only human characters you really get, and yeah, I mean, I like the Sonic movies. The first one, I gave it a pass mostly because Jim Carrey. With that, he's the best part of that first movie. The second, the first movie, it's not good. It's your typical fish out
Right.
of water story. It's a road trip movie. I'm like, oh dear God, I don't want a road trip movie for my second. Why do we have Sonic, a character that can literally go faster than the speed of light in a car?
Right.
90% of the movie, dude. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, but Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 definitely are good adaptations of the game. But again, if you want a better video game adaptation with Jack Black, just watch Super Mario Brothers. it's
Yeah.
it's a far better movie. This one's fine. Again, like we said multiple times, we're gonna sound like broken records. Jason Momoa and Jack Black definitely hold up this movie. If you want to go for the memes,
Go for the
go on a
memes.
Tuesday.
Listen,
Go
I
on a
went for the
discount
memes.
Tuesday. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
kind of
I
went in
went.
for the memes. I wanted
Yeah.
to see how good or bad this was. Like, I do think that there are some people that are definitely shitting on the movie because it's just the fun, popular thing to do. I'm not gonna outright shit on
Right.
it, but I'm not gonna sing its praises either. Like, there's a few things that I can praise. I'm like, okay, there's some elements in this. Hell, even Jeremy Johns gave it a better time if you're drunk.
Yeah.
Like that means it's like, okay, this is a fun movie that you can kind of put on in the
Drink too.
background.
Which
You
is
can
an
drink too and all that
yeah.
other stuff.
It was initially what we were planning, but because of
Yeah.
distance and the kind of day it was, the weather, we're like, let's just go to the
Yeah.
movie today
Let's
and
just go to
just
the movies
watch
today
it.
and just kind of
Yeah.
enjoy ourselves.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I had an enjoyable enough time. I
Yeah.
would argue that. I definitely would.
The,
I would definitely argue. I enjoyed myself.
yeah.
Um,
The movie is
didn't count my
best
tickets.
watched. I've said this before. I
Yeah.
I think the movie is best if you are planning on seeing the movie. It's best watched with zero expectation. Like, I think just being
Yeah.
like, boop, just literally turn off your brain. Like, and
Yeah.
just
Turn off your
be
brain.
entertained. Literally, just be entertained.
It is a perfectly fine popcorn movie.
Yeah.
Would I say that there are far better popcorn flicks out there? Yes. But is this one enjoyable enough to see once? Sure.
Right.
But I have a feeling if you have young kids that are into Minecraft, they're gonna want to watch this movie all over every time, every fucking day. It's gonna be, especially for a lot of boys that are into Minecraft, because I know that that's mostly the brand. Yeah, like, I already know my nephew's gonna want to, after I do go see this with him, I know he's already gonna want to watch it like again and again and again and again and again, and that's fine. I get it. If you're a kid, you have those movies that you watch over and over and over again. I watched a lot of Scooby Doo when I was a kid. When I was even younger, when I was a toddler, I watched a lot of The Wiggles. That was my growing up. I watched a lot of Sesame Street. That kind of
Right.
thing. So, but as far as like movies, a lot of Scooby Doo movies. Like, Cyber Chase was one of my favorite Scooby Doo movies. I always enjoyed Alien Invaders. I enjoyed Dinosaur from Disney. I really liked that movie as a kid. Um, there's a lot of good things that there's a lot of things that I would argue don't really hold up, but you like them as a kid. And I would argue Nacho Libre holds up. I would argue that, but it's definitely it's a personal taste.
Right.
Same thing with Napoleon Dynamite. And granted, I think it's just because it was overhyped. That might be the mindset I had. I was like, oh, this is gonna be really, really funny, and I was just like,
Yeah.
it's the same thing with The Office. I feel like The Office is overhyped. I think we talked about that on the last episode, if I'm not mistaken. We brought up The Office very briefly because we were talking
I think
about
we
millennials.
mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm much more of a Parks and Recs guy. I would argue Brooklyn Nine-Nine is far more my speed. I like that one a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to Minecraft. I mean,
Back to the plot. So one of the
Yeah.
things one of the problems I had with the plot was that,
Mhm.
in the beginning of the movie, in like the first quarter of the movie, you have Jack Black basically go into this world and then he tames the dog, or he tames the wolf, and
Dennis.
then
Yeah.
and then he basically he gets captured, and that once they get back to Steve,
Mm.
taking basically he's in the cell for I don't know how long, but it's implied that it was for a very long time,
It
and
was at least over 20 to 30 years.
yeah, and so
Easily.
then basically they're like, okay, the Queen Piglin is like, okay, get this crystal for me,
It's
and
orb,
then
and
yeah,
I'll spare your dog.
and but the dog was already out, like, and I Steve
Yeah.
should have already
But they
known
didn't
that.
know
It's
that.
like,
He didn't there was no way he could have known. Because remember, whenever he released the dog that told him to go put it underneath his bed, he or underneath, go take it to his house. He even stated, he's like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm ever going to see that dog again. I don't know if I'll ever see Dennis again."
right.
So
Well, I guess so. I mean, I didn't feel like they really made it clear that much, or maybe they
yeah,
just didn't put enough pressure on that particular part, because
I
then
guess.
after that, after the piglins threaten him to get the
Hmm.
crystal, he's like, okay, I'll get the crystal for you guys, and then it turns into he isn't going to get the crystal to bring back. Now it's like,
Now he's
now it's
helping these people
just,
go home, and I
yeah,
think I think initially he was never going to give them the crystal. I think he was going to go find it, and then he was going to hide it or something along those lines. I don't know, but
that part was confusing. I'm like, okay, so I'm
yeah, I
like,
feel
I
like
feel
that was
like,
just to get the ball rolling, to get the plot going. I think that's
yeah,
ultimately what that was the purpose of it. It was, this is the MacGuffin, go get the MacGuffin. Okay,
he just goes and tries to
again,
do his
paint by
own thing.
numbers. This is a very
Yeah,
paint by numbers movie, and as paint by numbers go, it's fine. There's just so many different ways you could have done a Minecraft movie. I would argue that this is probably disappointing as a video game adaptation. And also I feel like it was 10 years too late. Like, this should have come out like at the very least 2015, 2016. Like, that
well,
was like right around when Minecraft was at its peak. Hell, I would argue 2013 would have been a good
yeah,
time for it to come out.
that
Like,
it
this
makes
movie would have
sense,
made
but
buttloads of money, and I think it still will.
yeah, I feel like a lot of video games, I feel like a lot of video games are like that, because I mean, you didn't really start getting a lot of these video game adaptations until like a few years ago, where it was
Yeah,
really popular. And doing a video game adaptation isn't really for the faint of heart in terms of directors, because some of these adaptations are difficult. But going back to the plot, um, so I think eventually, who was it? Jason Momoa played this guy called named the Garbage Man. I
that
think
was his
that's,
nickname. Yeah,
yeah,
because it was a move that he did. He was a video game tournament champion, and that was
yeah.
the move that he did. So they called him Garrett the Garbage Man Garrison, and that's briefly brought up a couple times.
It's
But I feel
brought
like
up
it's
in
it's
the beginning of the
it's brought up in
film.
the beginning, and then like I'm saying, like he mentions his name a couple times, and there's this whole point where he's like, "Oh, I'm a very selfish character," which, like, okay, I never got that vibe from him until he started talking about like treasure and stuff like that.
Right.
They very kind of very loosely brought it in there. And then the whole hero sacrifice thing, and then he comes. I knew he was gonna come back later on, because I'm like, they're not gonna kill off Jason Momoa. I don't think any of these characters are gonna die. I really
He's
don't.
he has
So
too much of a main character personality in the film,
yeah,
where
I
it's
would
like
have
it
liked
doesn't
if it
make
would have
much
followed
sense.
him a little
The
bit more. I really
uh,
do. Like, I would argue you don't really have a main character in this movie. Yeah,
right.
you have, everybody has their story beat that they got to get. Honestly, the one that gets the most of the hose is fucking the sister. The
Yeah.
sister and the real estate lady, they get the hose the majority of them out of the time. So, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, they get to do stuff at the end, but like, ultimately through a majority of the movie, they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
I mean, genuinely, they're just not. And the sister, I feel like, has little to no arc other than to trust her brother. The brother has got to believe in himself. Same thing with Garrison, but I think his was like, oh, I just gotta something along those. I forget what his whole arc was supposed to be, but
Well, he
Huh.
that he played a character that was financially struggling in the real world, and
Yeah.
his
And then
his
he
whole
ultimately turned everything around.
his whole gaming business, went down. Essentially, in the beginning of the film, he was trying to make money to keep his business alive, which is why
Right.
he repoed, not repoed. He flipped sheds. They
Storage
did
units, yeah.
this whole storage units, and then he wasn't successful at that, which is why in the middle they decided to go through the caves
Through the mines,
to
yeah.
through the mines to get these diamonds, and then you know that's where the whole selfish thing came in, is because like, dude,
Yeah.
did we really have to go through that? And he's like, well, I actually liked that they did that. That was like a part of the plot that I actually
Yeah.
did like, because it was like, it like, I feel like it kind of explained a little bit, like, you can't, it's kind of like the whole thing with consequences. It's like, in
Mhm.
the real world, this is what's going on, so obviously this is what this character will most likely do in this situation. And I felt like it just made sense. Like, I'm like, this is right for the film. It's like, it's one of the things that I felt came together, was the
Yeah.
whole going into the mines and seeking the diamonds, putting yourself in danger. Um, and so I like that. I also, another thing that I liked was how they set up all, like, of the inventory. Like, I don't know, the way that they set up the inventory, when they went into the village for the first time, they went into that store, like, just all the, like, I don't know, maybe it's the aesthetic of it, or maybe it just felt right. I'm like, yeah, that this kind of makes me want to play Minecraft. Just sort of the
I agree
little
with that.
details
Like
of that. I'm
some
like,
of the
this
details
feels
that they
good.
had, it genuinely made me want to pick up Minecraft. And I would argue if there's any like positive message out of it, yeah, or like the positive thing to take out of it, aside from like some genuine chuckles, yeah, it does really make me want to play Minecraft. I agree with you on that end. But then whenever you do get into it, I don't know. There's a lot of creative stuff you can do, but I don't know. It is what it is. I mean, I picked up Minecraft a little while ago again, and I kind of like. I'm more of a creative guy. I don't really like playing survival. Survival feels very
Yeah,
grindy to me, whereas creative, you can do whatever the hell you want. And I mean, the fact that none of them were just like floating around, like they didn't hide, like it's like, oh, the orb of creativity, and he
right.
just floats and just destroys everything. It just like one hits everything. It's just like that would have been funny. It would have been overpowered, but like I'm like, that'd be kind of funny, like it'd been funny to see that. Or like if the crystal, if they ever truly used it, like somebody could go into creative mode. Like that would have been funny. I feel like that could have
Yeah.
been like that was a little bit of a wasted opportunity, but um,
I feel
you
like they
know,
did. I feel like they did a lot of creative stuff with it. Even I mean, my experience with playing Minecraft is I do like creative. But when I play survival, I prefer to play it with friends. That's
yes,
just
it
my
is
sort
far
of
better with
thing.
friends. Yeah.
It, but I feel like I feel like they took some really interesting creative liberties with like when they did the golems. Like, I thought that was really
Yes.
interesting. Like, just the way that
Oh,
they
and
set
that
that up.
was yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
but
and also I will argue that if this were to win any awards, it would probably be for best visual effects or best sound mixing. Because I would argue, yes, some of the sound mixing was pretty good. Um, the speaking of the golems is the shoes or the what is it, the fetus swiftness or whatever it is.
yeah,
The fact that they use that to make a golem. Also, that kid's reaction was weird. I was like, are we expecting like the voice of Morgan Freeman to come out of this damn thing? What the? Why are you just staring at it like like he has this like look of I'm expecting something to happen and then nothing happens and he just disappears. I'm like, what the fuck
yeah,
were we focusing on that for? That was I was genuinely about to be like, and
yeah. I guess
and
I think, I mean, yeah, that part was weird. I think the reason why they did that, and I don't know, like, maybe it was an actor's decision. Maybe they're like, he was
maybe
like, maybe I should embellish this a little more. But it might have been that that like, he didn't know what was going to happen, because the way that they trained, the way that they set it all up, they set up the movie and got the actors to get accustomed to the film, was basically by making them play the
Minecraft. Yeah,
Minecraft game. So
yeah.
maybe it was just one of those. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know, but that was a little weird. It would have also been kind of. I think it would also been funny if Morgan Freeman's voice had come out of that golem. That would have
Or
been
fucking Peter Cullen.
peak. That would have been peak.
Peter Cullen would have been even funnier. It's like, Iron Golems, roll out. Just like, you just hear Peter Cullen's voice for no freaking reason. I would have actually died of laughter right there. I've been like, 10 out of 10. Best movie ever made. Absolute peak cinema.
Yeah.
You know, but no.
I
feel like that would have been jumping the shark a little bit.
It would have still been funny. It would have. I feel like it
or
would have
if
still
that
made
was
the
Matthew
film.
Barry's character, that would have been so funny. It's like, huzzah! I am here to take charge of the Iron Golems. You, Piglin Queen, I'm here to fight you. It's just like, that would have been funny.
And then the what was that? What was that? Berserk piglet.
Oh, the big ass pig thing. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that was.
I definitely got like what do you call it? Solo battle. You know how you see like a Transformers, like you get two giants.
It's the Kerbigin. You know, it's the Biggin battle. It's the Hulk's battle or whatever the fuck it is.
The Godzilla versus King Kong sort of thing.
Yeah, I would argue that. Though, like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm starting to... The more I think about this movie, I swear it starts to give me an aneurysm. It's not bad. It's just... It's there. I guess it's the best way to put it. It exists. I saw it. I have no other statements. It exists and I saw it.
What's that movie that created a cult? Like, it was so bad. It was directed by this guy who had a Danish accent. Oh man, it's an old movie. I forget the name of it. And at the very end, he ends himself.
Videodrome? Is that what you're talking about? The David Lynch movie?
No, I mean...
Or no, that was Cronenberg. Sorry, my bad. David Cronenberg.
Was it Red Room? I don't know. Maybe...
Red Room?
Know.
Suspiria?
No. It was so bad. They created a movie out of how the movie was created.
Oh, The Disaster Artist? You're talking about The Room?
The Room.
Tommy was
The Room.
Yeah.
Boom, The Room. That's what I don't know why.
It's one of the best, worst movies ever made.
Exactly. I feel like that's what sums up Minecraft. It's like
it's not the best, worst movie ever made. It's an entertaining, bad movie. Would I say it's offensive? No. It is the most inoffensive. It exists.
It's very innocent.
The Room is terrible. It is a absolute abolishment of cinema. It is exactly what not to do with a movie. That's what The Room is. Like, they actually teach that in film classes.
That we might actually have to do a podcast on that, because I'm interested about what you have to say on
everything. The Room.
Yeah, not to get into it now, but I'm actually curious.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's a lot to say about it. It's almost getting to the point where it's like, what else can be said except what has already been said? Like, it's getting to that. It's like trying to talk about Lord of the Rings now. It's like, what can be said that hasn't been said already? You know, now granted, I would argue completely different poles of what can be said that hasn't been said already. As far as like comparing the quality of Lord of the Rings to fucking The Room. But it is definitely with that.
But so I guess to go back, you know, backpedal on what I just said, it is a fun movie to watch, but if you're
will I ever actively go out of my way to go see it again?
No, I don't. That isn't. No. Now maybe when you have kids, you might. I don't know. You know,
I'm gonna probably end up taking my nephew to it. Other than that, no, I got nothing. You know, so I pretty much already said what I wanted to say about this movie. I mean, if you're an absolute Minecraft fan, yeah, sure, go ahead and watch it, I guess. I would wait till it comes out on streaming, to be perfectly honest. If you got like kids that you want to go take it to, I can think of worse things to go see, but I don't know. I feel like I would have had a far better time watching something else. I'm glad I eventually saw it, you know, because I'm like, okay, it's about what I expected. It didn't go above my expectations. It didn't go below. I was just like, this is about what I expected, you know? There's some heart to it. Like, granted, it's because I'm a dog lover. You know, the whole thing with Steve and Dennis. I was like, okay, yeah, I like that. I like Jack Black. I really do. I like Jason Momoa in this movie. It's just the downside is, aside from Jennifer Coolidge, Jack Black, and Jason Momoa, it's a very
Yeah,
forgettable movie.
it is.
Yeah,
It's not.
they're
It's not
trying their
a.
hard.
It
You
isn't a
know,
movie that you could watch. Like I think of Despicable Me as being a movie that you can watch over and over again, and you won't really necessarily get tired of it. Um, I like the Despicable
mm,
Me series. I feel like you can kind of watch them again. I remember someone explaining that to me, like, I can watch this movie and keep watching it, or it isn't like it's not something that you can always watch again. Minecraft is one of those. Okay, I watched it, and I'm pretty
if you want to
much.
shut your kid up for an hour or two, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
perfectly fine movie for that. Or if you just want to distract your kids, it works perfectly fine for that.
yeah.
Aside from that, could I think of, is it like overtly offensive? Like you shouldn't let your kids watch it? No, go take your kids to it if you want to.
Let's. I know some people who are really into the. I'm not going to watch this movie because it's an agenda.
There's no
Which
agenda with this
yeah,
movie.
with Thor Love and Thunder, there was some stuff slipped in there. None of that in Minecraft. There's
No,
movies
no,
out there
there's
that do that. Minecraft does not do that.
no. I would
Um,
argue that that's why I say it's relatively inoffensive.
it's
There's
not even offensive. It's just innocent. Like
That's why I said
there's there.
inoffensive.
Yeah,
It's completely innocent. Yeah.
yeah,
I would argue
complete.
there's no political messaging in this. It's very, again, it's a paint by numbers movie. It's just your typical kids movie.
Yeah, I
It's more or
think
less a fish out of water story. It's just with the
right.
Minecraft IP. I mean, that's
I
really all it is.
I'd say that a little bit more about the plot because I'd like to actually. I took quite a few things from the plot.
Hmm.
I really liked. I think if there's one thing that was okay, it was well, first you had the battles. I kind of like that. I thought they
Yeah, the
were pretty
action was fun.
creative.
I like
I
the
I
action.
yeah I think that they were relatively creative. Like with the potato gun, I thought that was really creative.
Yeah, the
What
potato
they did
launcher,
with
that was
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
I like
I
that. I would have liked
I
more of
yeah
that, like more creative weapons. Make your own identity with it. You could have done
yeah.
really good with it.
And I like how they took real world materials and then made it into its
Yeah, yeah,
own
that was
thing in
actually really
Minecraft. That
cool.
was really clever.
Yeah,
And the nunchuck buckets, that was funny, but
yeah,
I thought it was good. I'm like this matches the character. It's like
yeah.
it's I feel like that's a Jason
Nunchuckets.
Momoa thing. Yeah,
Nunchuckets. Yeah, yeah.
nunchuckets. Yeah,
Nunchuckets. Yeah.
and then but I also, man, I felt like they could have done more with the diamond sword at the end. Like I felt like it could have been like the sister and the giant piglin and just be like
Mm,
battle it out. Like I feel like that would have been kind of cool. Like I just see like oh like I okay this might I don't mean it to sound like this, but sort of like not woman empowering, but sort of like you know you
kind
have
of a
this
girl
woman
boss
who's in
moment.
the yeah like girl boss moment. That would have been kind of cool. I would have
I would have
kind
been
of
okay with it. I wouldn't
yeah
have bought it entirely because she didn't seem like the biggest fighter. That kind of element. I mean, yeah, you had a montage, and maybe if they would have focused on it a little bit more, it would have been easier to swallow. I do think having the Iron Golem fight it, that was
right.
perfectly fine. I didn't hate that. Uh, the diamond armor. Oh my god! Armor already looks ridiculous in Minecraft in the game. In the
Yeah,
movie,
it looked like they put together cardboard and tinfoil and then just painted it like how you'd say
yes.
it, like just the reflectiveness. I'm like, bro, this looks. It looks like I remember thinking at the very moment Steve was walking up to the Queen Piglin. I'm like, is that tinfoil? Or is that
No, they
aluminum
added
foil?
some they add like obviously they made it with like clear resin and all this other stuff. Like they put thought and effort into
Yeah,
it. It's just the kind of sheen effect that they added. I was
it
like,
was. Yeah, it was
yeah, that
very
was a little too
glossy.
much.
I felt like it
Yeah.
was it was out there. But I also one of the things, another thing that, well, I don't think the sister, killing the big piglin wouldn't. Obviously, I wouldn't have bought that, but at least injuring the piglin with the diamond
Oh
sword,
yeah, injuring it
actually,
would have been nice. Yeah, or
actually
doing
using,
something else with a diamond sword.
yeah, that would have been cool. But there was like that one girl boss moment where she was battling the piglins and getting to the crystal. Like That was
Yeah, but that was with
hilarious.
her brother. That was trying to
Yeah.
help her brother get out there. Yeah,
So
that's fine.
it's
Again,
some teamwork there. I
completely
like that.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
Innocent.
was some teamwork. Yeah, again, it's a completely innocent movie. There's no overt messaging in it, other than be creative, believe in yourself, that kind of thing. Like again,
Yeah.
it's a very generic movie. I would argue
And,
that. And again, like I said before the movie even came out, I already said like the best thing the Minecraft movie could be,
and
just based off of the
obviously,
vibe,
yeah.
is aggressively okay. And that's
I
exactly what I got out of it.
yeah,
Is
and
aggressively okay.
I think that I mean obviously the way that the plot turned out was like, as you said in the beginning, it was really fast paced and it was like
It was
but
breakneck speed, which is
I
fine. I'm glad it
yeah
was under 2 hours. I'm very happy that the movie was under 2 hours. I think it was like with the or the credit scene or whatever what the fuck it was, his mid credit scene. Even with that, I think like the movie as a whole is maybe an hour and 25 minutes, and that's without the credits.
right. I think
it,
that
I That's fine. I'm okay
yeah
with that. I think if it was anything longer than what it was, it would have gone on too long. I'm glad
right
that they kept it to a very tight knit, more or less 90-minute movie.
yeah I think they did. I think they did a good job with that. 90 minutes may not have given them all the time of the world to do the
No,
plot the way that they wanted it to, but with that said, I think if there was anything I could say about character development, I think that, well, because I mean when you if
very
because the plot
generic colored
it,
character development.
it was, but it was generic. It was okay. It wasn't bad though.
Yeah.
I liked the struggles between the characters, and so I
Yes.
liked the struggle with the kid. I'm like I like
Yeah.
when he faced the Enderman, like then he started to get sucked into his own head, kind of like you have these internal battles going on. I'm like I
Yes.
like
That
that.
was
That is a,
actually well done. That was a
yeah
very creative way to do that.
yeah,
I agree with that. That was nice.
and him
Um,
fighting the Enderman was kind of symbolic for him fighting his
yeah,
own internal
fighting his own
battles.
demons, and I think that Enderman fight was actually pretty cool. I did like that.
Yeah,
Again, going back to the action was actually not half bad in this movie. The weapons designs I actually thought were a creative way to make what is essentially 2D blocks into a 3D type sphere. I thought that was done well. The designs are familiar yet unique to the movie, and I thought that was really well done. Um, yeah, I mean there's some good moments. There's some good things to take out of this. Yeah, I swear to God, if it makes $1 billion, I swear
bro,
to Christ, please don't.
it's already making profit, dude.
I know. I'm just saying. I hope it's not like a huge, mega, colossal hit, because if it is, we're gonna get a lot more movies like this.
I
And not to say that that's arguably a bad
yeah.
thing, but I want my creativity. I want my good movies. I want my Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I want my Wild Robot movies. I want, like as far as like kids movies that are perfectly suitable for both kids and adults. Like
Right.
I want those movies to come back, and this is obviously more targeted toward kids, and that's fine. But there are so many good examples. Again, like I brought up, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Wild Robot. Like, I mean, hell, if you want to talk about a good comedy, Puss in Boots and the Last Wish, right there. That's a really good. I just rewatched it recently. I still laughed my ass off, even though I knew exactly what was coming. I'm like, I still find this absolutely hilarious. So,
Yeah.
in that element of it, it's like, okay, there are good movies out there. It's just those are not the ones that are making money. Why do you think we're getting so many sequels? Why do you think we're getting not enough original movies? Like The Wild Robot, hell, is not technically an original movie. It's based off a book. It's a
Right.
good adaptation of the book, but still,
I think that I don't know. I feel like if it does hit, if it that does happen, I don't think we'll get more movies like that. But I do think that there will be more of a concentration on both video game adaptations, and I would love to see more Minecraft
adaptations.
movies. Yeah, adaptations, I should say.
Yes, I
Adaptations,
agree with you
either
there.
I would love to see that. And so
Yeah.
if there is a hit, I would love to see the hit be like, okay, we got to focus on Minecraft because there's so much to explore on this. But
Yes, there's so
obviously
many different
that
ways you can make
style
movies out of
is
it.
yeah. And I think the reason why I think that it could be that just for the simple fact that Minecraft is nostalgic and it's been the number one game for I don't know how long?
I
So
think like
it's
10 plus years.
yeah, it's
It's
one
been
of
the number one
those.
game for a decade.
It's one of those. I've got to watch it because I played this game. Like, who
Yeah.
hasn't heard of the game Minecraft?
Yeah.
Um,
Even people that haven't played it, they know what Minecraft is.
yeah,
And yeah, I argue that that's part of the reason it's going to make money. I just, I think word of mouth is eventually going to get out. I think it's going to have a very strong opening weekend, and then I think it's going to teeter out because you do have a couple other movies that are coming out later on this month. Uh, there's something that I want to go see later on this month. Give me just a
all right.
second. I you know,
While
but I mean,
you're
I agree with you on that. I really do. I
yeah,
think that we can definitely see more out of this.
while
Um,
while you're looking that up, I would like to talk more about the character development and that stuff,
oh,
if you
I
don't
already
mind.
found it. So, Sinners is coming out. The new Ryan Coogler movie. That's an original esque movie. It's a vampire movie, but it's set in 1920s Southern America.
Yeah,
You get my drive there. You get my drive. You
1920s
understand what I'm?
Southern America.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what
I
the
have
primary majority of the main cast is? Black.
white. Oh, black.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
black. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that gives you an idea. So like, there's gonna be some symbolism in that. Um, what else? What else? I mean, obviously, The
Interesting.
Amateur is coming out. The new Rami Malek movie that looks like a generic action filler. I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe there's gonna be some unique stuff in there.
I'd like to see
Hell,
the amateur.
April 25th. I would like to go see it. April
Yeah,
25th. We're getting a Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith release,
nice.
re-release on the screen. I guess it's I do want to go see that on the big screen though. That was one movie I missed out on as a kid. Uh, you have a whole bunch of other movies that are coming out later on, May 16th. Final Destination Bloodlines. That's coming out. I really do want to go see that. You have a new Nick Cage movie coming out May 2nd. You know, you have a lot of movies coming out in the next few weeks that I argue are definitely going to outperform this. The Accountant 2 is coming April 25th.
I would like to see the accountant too. The accountant two and the amateur are both ones that I want to see.
Another movie that's
Um,
coming out that I think is probably going to beat The Accountant 2 is Until Dawn. We're getting a video game adaptation of that.
that's
And
cool.
also, really quick sidebar, I do want to talk about this. For those of you that are saying, I want a direct adaptation of Until Dawn, who the fuck are you? Why do you keep saying this? It's like, oh, they're changing so much. They're just using the IP. It's a unique idea. And that's where I give it credit where credit is due. Because here's the thing. The main gimmick of Until Dawn is it is a generic horror movie. The the part that makes it unique is the different branching storylines that you can do because it is a game based off of choice. That works well in a video game. That is not how it's going to work in a live action interpretation of the movie unless it's 15 hours long.
Right.
This Until Dawn movie, for those of you that don't know, and then after I'm done describing this, we'll get back to this, but for those of you that don't know, this Until Dawn movie, we are getting different genres of horror movies. So they're going to this cabin. It takes place in the same universe, by the way. So like it's just different characters. It's a different story. So it's in that same universe, by the way. So like all the Until Dawn stuff still happens in this universe. It's just this is different. So in this, they're going into a cabin. There is a time element to it, right? So they have to survive until dawn. If all of them die, it changes genres. It changes monsters that are going after them. So you do eventually get a Wendigo. You do, but you also get a slasher. You get a witch. You get so many different elements. And I'm like, that's a unique idea. Yes, I get it. I love my Until Dawn game. I really do. I enjoy the hell out of that game. But if you're going to adapt it into a movie, at least with a recognizable IP, that's a way to do it. You're going to get basically 4 different genre horror movies in one horror movie. That's a unique idea. You're getting the Happy Death Day vibes with the fact that they every time they die, they survive again. Like it's a good idea. I'm very interested in it. Now, of course, it could be absolute dog ass. I'm not going to say it couldn't, but I don't want to see Until Dawn directly adapted onto the big screen because then it's just going to be a generic fucking movie. It's a generic creature feature. That's all it is. I don't want that.
Yeah.
Rant aside. Back onto Minecraft, by the way. Again, my point is, I think it's gonna have a strong opening weekend, and
Yeah.
I think it's gonna teeter off here in the next few weeks.
Yeah. Um. Honestly, I mean, I I think I think eventually, I think it'll be a while until people catch on to the actual film, a Minecraft movie. I think it'll be a very long time because you know, I think it's just unique in that way. I don't know. That's me.
I think this is gonna be one of those movies that like every generation has that movie that wasn't great, but they have like an emotional nostalgia tie to it. I feel like this
Yeah.
is gonna be Gen Alpha and younger Gen Z. That movie, I feel like that's what it's gonna be. So
It's
if, like for
definitely
younger Gen Z and Gen
yeah.
Alpha, this is gonna be that nostalgia movie. You know,
I
this is the
feel
one that they go back and they're like, ah, it's not great,
yeah.
but I liked
It's
it.
what we have. Yeah.
Yeah,
I really really hope this is not the end for Minecraft adaptations. I hope to God because if it is, I'm like, bro, this is what we've got, bro. This is it, and I don't want that to happen. But
I don't want this to be the only adaptation.
I hope that someone comes along because I know that there are people who straight up just hate the movie. Like it's all over the internet. Like I've seen short videos of people just throwing popcorn at the movie screen. I'm like, whoa! Like if
Yeah,
people really
it's not
don't
that
like it that
bad.
much, someone really should come along and create more adaptations of it. Like this
Mhm.
shouldn't be the end for Minecraft
No, I
for
don't disagree with you
adaptations,
there.
but I really want that. I really want more adaptations.
I agree. I want
So
them too. So I'm right there with you.
yeah.
Any closing thoughts on a Minecraft movie?
Yeah, so I like what we said. It isn't a great movie. Obviously, what you've been seeing, what many people have been saying online, I wouldn't say is entirely accurate. I think that there's some good stuff. I'd say a lot of what's good about Minecraft is, well, you have the, what's her name, Jennifer Coolidge, the
Mhm.
Jeep, you know,
Jeep Grand
Grand
Cherokee
Cherokee.
or
Yeah.
Jeep Grand Cherokee. If I'm
Yeah.
not gonna have a stroke, can it please speak it normally?
Yes. That you have references in there. I'd
Mhm.
say that there's some good stuff they did with plot. Like some minor things. They obviously went very fast on the plot. There's some CGI that doesn't look great. It isn't good at all. I'd say that that's kind of what brings the quality of the movie down. Obviously, some holes in it, but character development. I really liked some of the character development, both with you've got the garbage man, you've got what was his name, Henry. You have Steve. You obviously have some character development that fits within the film that I think they did pretty well. And a really good setup for more adaptations. So
I agree. Um, well, I pretty much already said what I wanted to say about it, but if I got to sum it up, generically, perfectly fine movie. Am I gonna go out of my way to go ever see it again? Unless I'm taking my nephew, no, I don't think I would ever go incredibly out of my way to ever watch this again. But if it ever popped up on streaming or somebody was watching it and I'm like, okay, I'll do something else, it's like it's a background movie. I would argue it's perfectly fine for that. I do think that for the younger Gen Z and the Gen Alphas, this is going to be a hell to some of the Gen Betas as well. This is going to be that that nostalgia bait movie that like years from now they're going to be like, oh man, we never like the movies out today are not as good as this is, and it's like that was not that great to begin with. What the fuck are you talking about? I would
yeah,
argue it's going to be along the same lines as the Minions: Rise of Gru. It was a movie that
right.
got a massive following online, whether it be hate or love for it, and it's just it's got the meme culture behind it, and so I think that yeah, I would say, like I said with the rating, 4.5 out of 10. It's not a great movie, but I could think of worse ways to pass time for an hour and a half. So
Obviously,
yeah,
like
I can think of far worse ways.
watching The
Uh,
Room.
yeah, that's 2 hours there, buddy.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, again, it's if you want something to shut up your kids for an hour and a half, then I could think of worse things you could show them. So
I
this
think
is
another
it
yeah.
exists. It
I think
exists. I saw it.
I think another thing that made it interesting was just simply the Minecraft mechanics being shown through live
Yes,
action.
that was
That's
an
another
interesting
thing.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought that was kind of cool. But other than that, I give it a 5,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah.
I
5 out of 10.
there you go.
Yep.
You know,
So, a aggressively mid movie, I guess is the best way to put it. Um, Man, it doesn't hold up to that Power Rangers movie that came out in the night. No, I'm kidding. It's actually far better than that. But anyways, no, of course. Again, it's gonna be that nostalgic movie that kids hold on to, years down the line. But aside from that, yeah, I cannot say go out of your way to go see this movie unless you have someone that's wanting to go see it for you, or like a younger kid that's wanting to go see it, or you're just that curious. Then sure, I could think of worse ways to waste an hour and a half away. So that being said, I think this is going to do it. Now, of course, this is going to come out 2 weeks behind the premiere of or no, a week behind the premiere of this movie. So we are recording this on the 4th. We went and saw it the opening weekend. Um, and yeah, I think this is where we're gonna end it. So, did you see the movie? Let us know in the comments below if you're listening on YouTube, or sorry, if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening on Spotify, be sure to check us out on YouTube. Um, and then vice versa for the YouTubers. Be sure to check us out on Spotify. That being said, I have been Shad,
and this is the Reese Man.
and this has been Shad and the Resman talking about a Minecraft movie 2025. We will see you all in the next one. Godspeed.
God, Godspeed.